hakika ya kwamba penzi huponya. Nina hakika kuwa likiambatana na kweli moyoni, kutakuwa na amani na faraja rohoni. Nina hakika ya kwamba uvumilivu huzaa matunda mema kwa anayestahili ba. Hata upepo ukivuma, moyo hauzui ba, ya kwamba nina hakika. Nina hakika ya kwamba bidii hulipa. Jasho la leo halikosi kuzaa tiba. Usiogope kazi. Fursa hujificha ndani ya shida. Nina hakika. Nina hakika ndoto huishi. Nina hakika ya kwamba naye hamini bila kuchoka nafsi. Kila hatua huandika historia ya nafsi. Nina hakika. Nina hakika mema hurudi kwa upepo wa rehema usio na mipaka. Ukifanya wema utavuna kwa shangwe tele. Mimi nina hakika. Nina hakika maisha ni daraja tu la kuvuka kwa busara na uangalifu. Pepo hulipwa na si kwa mali, bila kwa uadilifu. Nina hakika. Nina hakika ya kwamba Mungu yu mwaminifu. Hata giza likiongezeka kwa mkufu, nuru yake huangaza kwa upole usio na kifani. Na leo hii nina hakika. Asante. Shukran.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Uko na hakika. So, thanks. Good to see people here. Margaret Gichanga, Charles Gachoka, good to see you. Now, let's go to introduction of the speaker. The speaker is not unfamiliar to us. She's been a member of this community from inception, so to speak. And so I'd like to call Nyonyi Cynthia to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, like Paul has mentioned, today's speaker is not really new to most of us. Some of us have met her in some of the events, but I'll just tell us briefly who she is, especially for the sake of those who do not know her. So she's a medical doctor, a retired eye surgeon, and a psychological counselor. She's a pro-family advocate, as well as a mental health champion. And she's also a trauma survivor in Christ, being the first African to be certified as an SGBV, a sexual gender-based violence trauma trained by Finding Freedom International. She's the founder of Wastahili Family Wellness Center, which was founded in 2018. And the vision of this wellness center is happy, healthy families rooted in universal values. Their motto is, when solving problems, you dig at the roots instead of hacking at leaves. Wow, quite intriguing, right? Okay, as a result of what Wastahili does, she mentions that youth are empowered to become best versions of themselves. And I think for those who are on the group, on the Power Monday group, can attest to this, based on one of the testimonies from one of us who told us how the daughter has been supported and helped by today's speaker. And through this, she also supports couples, and couples are empowered through premarital, marital counseling, and natural family planning. Parents are also empowered to connect, reconcile with their children through parenting, coaching, family counseling. She's a wellness coach, and she specializes in character strengths, life skills, addiction, recovery, and she's a certified workplace supervisor and mediator, MTI. She is passionate about holistic and mental health. She's a trainer of trainers, for some of us who might be interested. And she gives corporate health talks to public and private institutions like schools, universities, and corporations. In addition to this, she serves on the board of Linda Vijana Initiative. I know most of us have heard of this through Power Monday platform. She's a former board member of Positive Psychology Association of Kenya, PPAK. She's a member of Catholic Psychologists Association of Kenya, CCPAK. And she's also the Kenya Association of Counselors and Psychologists, Kenya Christian Professionals Forum, and Kenya Catholic Doctors Association, Catholic Women's Association, and she's a life member of International Association for a Disease-Free World. She is the proud mom of 4 adult children. Wow, she's a mom to 4 just like myself. She's the grandmother of 2 delightful granddaughters. And I like this one. She is an apologetic truth seeker. She believes that the truth about you heals you. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Dr. Eda J. Tatu to speak to us this morning. Karibu sana, daktari.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you
Good
very
morning.
much for that introduction. OPP, are you the one presenting or I'm the one to upload?
You can try to upload it and see if there is an issue, then Antonia will assist us. Usually I don't share because I do other admin related things. Just do it. I love your background.
Is that appearing?
Yes, yes.
So my
Beautiful.
topic today is workplace well-being, where pressures are unrelenting, and psychological capital as a solution. Okay, so I'll make an introduction. As our introducer said, that I'm a workplace supervisor, so we need to talk about the benefit of that. Just a brief introduction of mental health and well-being, stress as opposed to work engagement, psychological capital and building hero teams, and building resilience and self-care as a preventive mechanism to prevent workplace burnout and stress. Okay, so as an introduction, maybe we can just do a short exercise. Sit straight in your chair, put your hands by your side, and take deep breaths in and out. We usually do the 4x4 model. You take a breath in for 4 seconds. Then you hold your breath for 4 seconds. Then you breathe out for 4 seconds through your mouth. And then you hold it down for 4 seconds, and then you start the cycle again. This is just like grounding. Yeah. So let's start. One. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it down for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that is called the breath of life. Then we look for, it's a grounding exercise. We look for 5 things in the room that you can see. Try to listen to 4 things in your environment. Try to feel the touch of 3 things in your environment. Try to smell 2 things in your environment. And then taste 2 things in your environment. Maybe you're having coffee and you can taste the sugar, or you can taste the coffee. Or if nothing, then it's just your saliva. But these grounding exercises help us to be mindful and not to think about what's happening in the environment, because social media right now and the news is extremely toxic. So we need to be in a safe space. So what does the key question is, what does the organization gain from well employees? And what's the justification for putting energy into workplace well-being? It's because we spend most of our time at the workplace, and the workplace well-being affects all aspects of our lives. There's this joke that you hear of the man who was stressed by his boss at work. Then he came home in the evening and shouted at his wife. And then his wife slapped the son because of that stress. And then the son kicked the dog. And then the dog chased after the cat. You know that even your pets at home can tell when you're stressed. Eh? So it's very important that we do well at work. Yeah. So organizations are not just static things that you see in the environment. They're a system of living beings. They're organic. They grow, they change, and they die. And our work-life experience has a big impact on the quality of our personal well-being and the sense of fulfillment in general. I'd like to remember Dr. Desiree Mora, who passed away last year in September 2024 last year. And she unfortunately passed away by suicide. We don't say committing suicide. She died by suicide because it has been decriminalized now. It's not a crime. She was obviously very unwell. She was an intern working in a hospital in Kenya. And from this report, you can see that the 27-year-old doctor was working in Kiambu Hospital. She had just finished a 36-hour shift that had taken a great toll on her mental health. She was not able to pay her bills, and it was blamed on financial hardships and a toxic work environment. So other doctors and interns have been found to die by suicide. There are very many by now. Vincent Bosire Nyambunde, Collins Kiprop Kosgei, a 30-year-old. So they had started an X platform hashtag called Pay Medical Interns to vent their frustrations. The BBC had written this report. It's a stark reminder of the silent struggles that many, including those in the healthcare profession, often endure. I graduated from medical school in 1990. That's 35 years ago, and I don't remember a single suicide. So things seem to be getting more and more difficult. The medical experts also say that there's moral injury, psychological trauma, as they feel guilty for not doing enough to treat patients. They're not able to, they could have done something to save a patient's life, but they didn't. So the BBC found that most medical schools do not adequately address the topic of suicide, and a healthy doctor builds a healthy nation. So you can imagine if you go to see a stressed doctor and they make a mistake about your medication and you have an iatrogenic effect. In fact, in America right now, they say the third leading cause of death is caused by medical personnel, nurses and doctors, who are probably very overwhelmed by their work. So it can lead to loss of life. That's why we need to take mental health in the workplace very seriously. They say that 1,400 Kenyans die by suicide every year, but I think it's much more. The ratio of men to women is 3 to 5 to 1, so it's much higher in men. It has been decriminalized in Kenya, and the rights group said that by decriminalization, we reduce the stigmatization. So Dr. Ado asked, how many doctors are we going to bury for the government to act? And every day in the newspaper, there's a news story about somebody who has died by suicide. So it's very, very concerning. Some are unemployed and some are employed. So we need to define health. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete mental, physical, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. As a Kenyan Christian Professional Forum, we updated that because they left out very vital elements of health. Family health we defined as the complete physical, mental, family, spiritual, and environmental well-being of a person, and not just the absence of infirmity. That was the ICPD side event in 2019. And wellness is not just about physical health. So doctors may pride themselves about being in charge of health, but actually we're only in charge of the physical health. But all aspects of health affect each other. Physical health is recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. Yeah, and then you have occupational health, which is what we're going to concern ourselves with. Personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. Spiritual health, expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. Social health, developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. Financial health is satisfaction with current and future financial situations. So emotional is coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. Environmental is good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being and intellectual, recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. Then you have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The importance of this slide is to understand what causes stress in our life. If you don't have these needs, then it will cause stress in your life. So the physiological needs are food, water, rest. And then you're not able to move from one stage to another until you've satisfied the lower need. So the second stage is security. The third stage is a sense of loving, belonging, intimate relationships, and friends. The fourth stage is self-esteem, feeling of accomplishment. The fifth stage is self-actualization, achieving one's full potential in life. They say that less than 1 to 2% of the world's population ever receive their full potential in life. And self-transcendence was added afterwards, because it came to be discovered that people who are not well unless they have a sense of meaning in life. Yeah, so these are the things that cause our stress. Mental health is defined, you can call it KCC. K stands for knowledge of one's capabilities, is the next C. The next C is coping with the normal stresses of life productively. The third C is contributing, the fourth C, to the community. Ability to relate to others and make choices, because choices have consequences. So it's important to be a person of character, because that will determine your choices. And probably the sixth C would result in consequences, which will also affect your health. So emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. And mental health includes our emotional, psychological, family, and social well-being, affecting how we think, feel, and act. So as it was said, I'm a workplace supervisor. Workplace supervision has been recognized as being very important for health. It's to improve not only health worker performance, but that's what we're concerning ourselves today. It's a process whereby managers and supervisors guide and encourage personnel to optimize their importance. So the supervisor comes and visits your institution and works closely with the people he or she supervises to establish goals, monitor progress, and identify opportunities for improvement. The desired outcome is well-motivated staff who maximize their potential through excellent performance at work, increased and sustained job satisfaction, improve service quality, customer care, and the staff learn and improve skills on the job, efficient use of resources. So it will actually increase your bottom line when you have satisfied internal customers. Your internal customers are your staff, and that means that the bottom line will improve and you will have increased staff retention and less resignations. So we're going to do a personal stress assessment. And what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word stress? Maybe you already feel stressed. And in case you feel stressed, you can also do the 4x4x4x4 breathing exercise. But we're just going to do a personal stress assessment to understand where you are. So we have something called the perceived stress scale that you can measure yourself. They ask you about your feelings and thoughts during this last month. And yeah, so 0 stands for never, 1 is almost never, 2 is sometimes, 3 is fairly often, and 4 is very often. So you can do this very quickly if you have a pen and paper. In the last month, how often have you been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly? 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. 2, in the last month, how often have you felt that you were unable to control the important things in your life? 3, in the last month, how often have you felt nervous and stressed? 4, in the last month, how often have you felt confident about your ability to handle your personal problems? In the last month, how often have you felt that things were going your way? 6, in the last month, how often have you felt overwhelmed with all the things that you had to do? 7, in the last month, how often have you been able to control irritations in your life? 8, in the last month, how often have you felt that you were on top of things? 9, in the last month, how often have you felt you were angry because of things that were outside your control? And 9, in the last month, how often have you felt difficulties were piling up so high that you could not overcome them? 0, 1, 2, or 3, or 4. And for your PSS score, you can add, you need to remember that for numbers 4, 5, 7, and 8, you reverse the number. So if you got a 4, they should all add up to 0. So if you got a 4, make it a 0 in these questions, 4, 5, 7, and 8. If you got a 3, make it a 1. If you got it a 2, it will also be a 2. And if you got a 0, give yourself a 4. Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, so my PSS score says that 0 to 13 is low perceived stress. 14 to 26 is moderate. I got 14 actually this morning. So I have moderate stress. 27 to 30 is high stress. And probably you would need help with that. And it's going to affect your family and it's going to affect your work performance. Okay. So it's good to know that in understanding stress, when the brain perceives something as a threat, it sends a message to the brain that there is danger, and the body goes into action to protect you from danger. And this is known as the stress response, called the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, the hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. And we call this the sympathetic system, where if you saw a lion coming into your compound, you would jump up, your heart would race faster, you would breathe faster, your lung capacity would increase, your pupils would dilate. Yeah, so that's the sympathetic nervous system. Your muscles would get all the energy, your digestion would stop, and your muscles would get all the energy to move as fast as possible. And that's the opposite of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is mediated by the vagus nerve, and that helps us to heal. We call it rest and digest. And also we can only heal when we're in our parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so the body's response to stress whether the demands are perceived or actual. So mild stress is called eustress. For example, the stress that I had before bringing this presentation. Then there's moderate stress, and then there's severe stress. And this is toxic stress. And this is now when you're able to say that I'm in a toxic marriage, I'm in a toxic relationship, or that person is toxic, because every time you relate with this person, you have toxic stress. Yeah, so trauma is not what happens to you, but what happens inside of you as a result of what happens to you. So these are the fight and flight responses you might recognize in yourself. The fight response is like you want to preserve yourself. You have anger outbursts. You demand perfection from others. You have a demeaning way of speaking to others. You control others. You have a sense of entitlement, narcissistic tendencies, and bullying in the workplace. Flight is like obsessive compulsive tendencies, anxiety, being a workaholic, you can't sit down and relax, rushing all over the place, perfectionism, an overachiever. A freeze response to stress is feeling unreal, brain fog, spaced out. It's a body's way of defending itself. Difficulty in making decisions, difficulty in taking action, wants to hide from the world, or what is called a couch potato. Fawning is when you become a people pleaser, you lose your sense of self, you're in a codependent relationship, this is what causes people to stay in violent relationships. They have no boundaries, they're not able to defend themselves, they're easily exploited by others, and they flatter others, and they can never speak up for themselves. So you might recognize yourself in one of these kinds of trauma responses. So how do you personally respond to stress? Should be the question. And we have the iceberg of human behavior. Human behavior, you see, is just a tenth of what's happening on the on the inside of this person. So what we all see and observe is the emotional expression. But under that, we have something called the heartberg that was coined by Dr. Chakua. And a heartberg, so when you see the reaction to stress, actually my reaction is an emotional response to a feeling, which is the inner part of me. And a feeling comes from a thought, and a thought comes from a core belief system. And a core belief system comes from our past and our present experiences at the base. So this is the upside down love heart. So every time you see a behavior, it's good to know that there's a lot that goes into that behavior. And some of these could be from childhood trauma. We have different kinds of people in our offices who could have grown up with adverse childhood experiences, which could be household dysfunction, like substance abusing in the family, jailed relative, divorce, separation, absence of one parent, mental illness, and domestic violence, the mother being treated violently. Usually, it could be the father. We have neglect, which can be physical and emotional. It can be abuse, which can be physical, emotional, or sexual. So an adverse trauma score of 4 or more out of 10 is severe childhood trauma. And somebody who has a childhood trauma score of 0 is very different from someone who has a trauma score of 10. Yeah. So now we talk about workplace burnout, which was what was most likely experienced by Dr. Morar. Yeah. Burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as chronic stress that has not been successfully managed. And it has 3 main dimensions: feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, negativeness, cynicism, and reduced professional efficacy. Efficacy is your personal understanding of how competent you are in your job. Yeah. So those are the 3 dimensions of burnout: exhaustion, lowered feeling of personal achievement, and cynicism or depersonalization. And there are 5 stages of burnout. There's honeymoon, then there's a stress onset, then there's the chronic stress, then there's the burnout, then there's the habitual burnout. Yeah. So in the honeymoon phase, this is just starting a new role, high levels of dedication. You're excited about your new job. There's a lot of energy, creativity, and job satisfaction. But with time, you may start getting anxiety, fatigue, forgetfulness, headaches, appetite changes, increase, high or low, irritability, lack of focus, poor decision-making, reduced quality of sleep, and high blood pressure. So it starts showing up in your life. Then with chronic stress, you have intensification of those symptoms. Self-doubt, you start isolating, you start escaping, probably through different types of addictions, and an overall pessimistic outlook towards work and life. Then you start neglecting your personal needs, and you start having symptoms of clinical depression. Then in burnout, perpetual stress, apathy, withdrawn from social activities, escape coping mechanisms such as alcoholism, resentment, aggression, feeling threatened, negativeness, yeah. And this is not only in the workplace. Generally, you find in the society, like in Kenya today, we've been going through a lot of stressful experiences. This is very prevalent, even in, you can see in the social media posts, resentment, aggression, cynicism, tardiness, procrastination on duties, missing deadlines, constant fatigue, and denial. So these are dangerous signs which show that somebody needs help. And if the group is being supervised on a regular basis, this would be noticed and presented in a non-judgmental way to the managers of the organization. So habitual burnout is the most intense stage of chronic mental and physical exhaustion, chronic depression, chronic adverse behavioral changes, frequently occurring suicidal thoughts, and reduced sense of one's worth. I'm completely worthless. And so if Dr. Morar and the other doctors had been helped earlier, this would have been detected very quickly and would have been able to assist them. Okay, so these are some of the questions that you ask, yourself. Little interest of pleasure in doing things, feeling down or hopeless, in not sleeping well or oversleeping, feeling tired or having very little energy, poor appetite or overeating. I'm somebody who overeats when I'm stressed. In African context, when you are fat, everybody thinks you're fine. I actually went to 105 kilos at one point because I crave for very fatty things. So when I met somebody who hadn't met for a long time, the director of the hospital said he must be doing very well, but actually was very sick, depressed. So other people lose weight, feeling bad about yourself, having trouble concentrating, psychomotor agitation. People call it ADHD, which is overdiagnosed, but it's a trauma response. It doesn't need medication. It just needs assistance, or just moving very slowly and having suicide. So the depression severity score can be minimum, mild, moderate, moderately severe, and severe depression. So we can prevent all these suicides if we can intervene early. Yeah. So it's very costly to the organization, though probably an organization might say, what's the use of supervision? This can put you at risk of a variety of physical and mental health problems, including all these that we have discussed before, physical, psychological problems, and then you might even be sued by a customer who is not happy. And if they have lost a life, then that life can never be regained. So you get resignations, then you have to train all these people again. So it's very, very costly. If you remember this 2018 incident when Stephen Mumbo died by suicide, jumping from the 17th floor. Price Waterhouse was known for having these terrible work regulations He was known to have worked for 72 straight hours. Another time he worked for 64 straight hours. I believe and I hope that they've increased the workplace policies because it costs life. So the opposite of burnout and stress is work engagement, yeah? And work engagement has three aspects. It has dedication to the work. People who are engaged, they report that I'm enthusiastic about my job. In fact, you can ask yourself this morning, my job inspires me. I am proud of the work that I do. Are these true of you? Vigor at my work, I feel that I'm bursting with energy. At my job, I feel strong and vigorous. When I get up in the morning, I feel like going to work. Absorption, I feel happy when I'm working intensely. I'm immersed in my work. I get carried away when I'm working. That is flow. So if you can say this about your current work situation, that's very good. And I really congratulate you and your bosses. So for positive psychology, I'm a member of the Positive Psychology Association of Kenya. And the difference between this and mainstream psychology is that we don't focus so much on what's wrong with you. We focus on what's right with you and what's right with an organization. So I'll talk briefly about the PERMA model, some character strengths and psychological capital. In positive psychology, we talk about positive emotions in the workplace, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. This is what makes people more engaged. So in positive emotions, you encourage solutions, you have supportive conditions, you address negativity before it escalates, and you share praise. For engagement, you build relationships, you mentor people, you boost collaboration activities, cultivate team support, leverage strengths and acknowledge hidden strengths. We guide autonomy and experiments to see what works and what doesn't. We build strong connections and support networks, structured connections, team collaboration, have a supportive culture, inclusive environment, lead supportively, encourage interactions and facilitate connections, and we promote open solutions. For meaning in life, they find purpose and significant personal and collective goals. Actually, when you have a vision and mission for your organization, the most successful organizations are when there's a buy-in and the people who are working for you, they find their meaning and purpose by working for you. So there's task clarity, there's a role dialogue, there's values at work and personal task. So an accomplishment, we pursue goals and celebrate achievements. So when people achieve, you know, as a good supervisor and a boss, you take responsibility for when things go wrong. And when things go right, you give it to the group. That's the hallmark of a good boss, yeah? Recognize, praise, celebrate, learn from successes, highlight goals, showcase achievements, celebrate milestones, focus on growth, and publicly acknowledge contributions and privately make corrections. So the 6 characteristics, character strengths, gratitude involves feeling and expression a deep sense of thankfulness. Love is expressing love at work, being warm, caring, and genuine to the people that you interact with. Curiosity enhances proactive behavior and contributes to overall well-being while reducing emotional exhaustion. Then hope is the belief that the future will be better than the present, along with the belief that you have the power to make it so. And zest is approaching life with excitement and energy. Spirituality is through the expression of a sense of meaning, providing a sense of being grounded and increasing optimism with a sense of purpose in life. So what is psychological capital? Psychological capital, as described by Fred Luthans, is a positive psychological state of development, and it's mental resources in hard times. Okay, you have other kinds of capital like financial capital and social capital. So building hero teams, financial capital involves hope. We've already discussed that, efficacy, and resilience and optimism. Okay, so we'll focus more on resilience. Efficacy is the belief in your ability to successfully manage tasks. Yes, so I'll just talk about the resilience as the ability to bounce back from adversity or failure or stress or trauma. The difference between a hopeful person and an optimistic person is that a hopeful person recognizes that life may not work out, yet maintains a positive mindset. An optimistic person always expects life to work out well. So you get higher job satisfaction, reduced stress, better job performance, good for the bottom line, and having a more engaged, innovative, and healthy workforce. So we can develop each of the 4 hero areas. Each of them is actually a lecture on its own, which I won't go into. Hope is a feeling that it shall. Without hope, that is when now you get into despair and suicide. Efficacy, the ability to produce a desired or intended result by having SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And as a result, you realize just how competent you are. So in building workplace resilience, it's an ability to bounce back from adversity, and you have interpersonal, organization, community, and policy factors. So we're just going to talk about the psychological tools that make people more resilient. It's important to think of challenges, problems as challenges, have a commitment, and have a sense of personal control. Resilient people view difficulty as a challenge, not as a paralyzing event. They look at their failures and mistakes as lessons to be learned from and opportunities for growth. They don't view them as a negative reflection of their self-worth. So the growth mindset sees that I can learn to do anything I want, and the fixed mindset is the exact opposite. So we try to instill this. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback, they appreciate feedback. They are inspired by the success of others, and they like to try new things. Committed people are committed to their lives and their goals, and they have a compelling reason to get out of bed in the morning. They're committed to their relationships, their friendships, the causes they care about, and they have a purpose in life. So it's important to know what is my purpose, that I have a philosophy of life, a personal vision, mission statement, and knowing who I am and what my purpose is. This is a whole lecture on its own, and the ability to articulate and communicate this purpose with passion, direction, and vision. So the action and words are consistent with this personal philosophy. So when you get your purpose, the way you get your purpose is knowing what you love, knowing what the world needs, knowing what you're good at, and knowing what you can be paid for. So personal control. These people who are resilient spend their time and energy focusing on situations and events that they have control over, because they put their efforts where they can have the most impact. And yeah, so it's good to know that what is in my control and what is outside of my control. My control is my thoughts and actions, what I give my energy to, how I speak to myself, the goals I set, how I spend my free time, how I handle challenges, and my boundaries. The things that I can't control are the outcomes of my efforts, the future, how others take care of themselves, what other people take care of me, the actions of others, the past, the future, the opinions of others, and what happens around me. So these are the things outside of my control that cause me stress. So what I should focus on is a combination of the things that matter and the things that I can control. And so those are the most effective people. And that is the serenity prayer, which says that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I believe we've run out of time there.
We can stop
Yes,
it there.
so
Lovely.
that is now the psychological capital that builds effective and resilient teams.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can stop sharing.
Okay.
We can move on to close. That was great. Thank you all for people who've been joining, and you can see that the Dr. has a lot of information, and this is very helpful. I am among those, that is somebody saying, Lane, I am among those that were affected by stop work order. And my last working day was 30th of April. This talk is timely and has encouraged me not to despair. Asante Daktari, I will re-listen to the recording. Yes, for those looking forward to the recording, I have put a link that you can subscribe to, and you just follow it up. We always post by Wednesday. I have also posted there a link if you want to join a Power Monday WhatsApp group. Otherwise, we meet every Monday as long as it's not a public holiday. Now, I'd like to call Nashami to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the team.
All right. Thank you so much for this honor to give a vote of thanks. And thank you for joining Power Monday. We deeply appreciate our vibrant audience for showing up with curiosity and heart, the organizers for making this powerful space possible, and a special shout out to those who are joining us for the first time. Welcome to this family. A heartfelt thank you to our speaker, Dr. Eda Tatu. And as Cynthia introduced, I'm one of the beneficiaries of Dr. Eda's services through my daughter, Edith Tain, who just went through a 3 days session with Dr. Eda. She's a reformed girl. Dr. Eda has shared such rich insights and practical wisdom. From the importance of workplace supervision to mental health and well-being, she has guided us through the differences between the stress and healthy work engagements, the power of psychological capital in building hero teams, and the role of self-care in fostering resilience. As we carry these lessons forward, may we cultivate well-motivated teams that maximize their potential, enjoy greater job satisfaction, enjoy and deliver improved service, quality, and continuously grow in skill and efficiency. Thank you so much, Dr. Eda. Thank you to the team, the organizers. Until next Monday, stay inspired, stay well, and keep thriving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nashami. Thank you for that eloquent pronouncement. Yeah, just to mention that next week we'll have some speaker, renowned speaker, talking about investor readiness. Whether you are running a business or you want to be an investor in any particular enterprise, that will be your opportunity. What is the investor mindset? How do investors think? Something like that. So be there, be early. Now, as I said, Power Monday is hosted by Live Your Dream. Live Your Dream provides training services and business development services. And so much of that you can also learn from our website. We also conduct training like personal finance management, sales mastery. If you want to grow in your business, you know you need to learn to sell. Otherwise, I'm your host. I'd like to, and as I said also, this is sponsored by ICT Gurus EA Limited, which puts your business online, everything technical, email, website. You want to stay online, you want something that you can depend on, something that is affordable and secure, then you out to ICT Gurus. I'd like to invite Antonia for any announcements. Antonia, as we close.
Good morning
Good
from
morning.
my team. Good to see everyone here. This was a much awaited topic. I also appreciate our Daktari for such great insight on mental health and at our workplaces. We really appreciate that. And thank you, Caroline, for the testimony of how she has worked with your daughter. That's great. Yeah, my only announcement that I have is just reminders about the activity that we have for this month. This month we have a children's visit. I trust we will confirm the date. We are supposed to have started running this a few weeks ago, but we can never be too late. Those who are ready with their donations, you can do so, and we will deliver them to the children. So that's the only announcement that I have. Yes, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Just to mention, it's on 24th, which is about 3 weeks from now. It's on Saturday. The afternoon, we will also interact with the children and help them to grow, mentor them. Now, there is a training upcoming in Nyamira and Homa Bay, which is for entrepreneurs who want to do business cross-border, or at least to put their businesses online and help them leverage on e-commerce. This training is largely sponsored by GIZ, and it will be 3 days in Nyamira County and 3 days in Homa Bay County. So if you know entrepreneurs there who've been in business at least 3 years in the same business, you know, Kenyans, you can be in business today, in 3 months you're in another business. We are looking for businesses that are stable, businesses that are growing and looking forward to going to the next level, making use of e-commerce and cross-border. You can let them register. I've just shared a link there in the chat. We will also share the same, and we intend that this registration be ended soon because we need to start sampling who is qualified for it. We are only looking for 25 entrepreneurs in Homa Bay and in Nyamira. I think that is important to know. So thank you for that. We are going to put that also in the WhatsApp. Otherwise, let's set our date for 24th, where we will be meeting at the Precious Blood Children's family to mentor the children, to share with them what we have. You could prepare something, some clothes, some shoes. You could ask in your estate. Let's do good to the world.